Welcome. Thank you for letting me present today, and I'm very excited to present to all of you. I'm sorry I couldn't be there in person. I'm Lawrence Brenner. I am an independent scholar, mostly pertaining to manga, anime, and fandom inside, and the different ways that it'll coordinate across different stuff, including with voice actors, content, and anything as well. I'm a voice actor myself, and I'm the engineer for Sunny Straight's classes that can also be taken online. So let's get started. We're going to do something very interesting and probably something that you've all played and had something to do with some of the guests even pertaining to today. I call it Mobile First Anime Games, Waifu and Husbando Collecting Potential and Loss, the free to plays collecting work opportunities and lost media. Now, this is actually pretty important because it's going to cover a lot of different things inside gaming that people may not have necessarily thought about. So, let's get started. Get your phones and let's go. So as we know, there are hundreds of mobile games released every year across the app stores. It's one of the biggest opportunities in gaming markets, and unsurprisingly, but most people may not know this, it's one of the biggest opportunities for voiceover because there are so many different things that are done each year, and it obviously needs talent and people to bring these people to life, and not just US voices but others as well. But we're going to keep it focused on the US market and English speaking audiences for the moment. So now the category itself with the games and what can make them very appealing is that they are all quite free. Everyone knows this, but there is a lot of different things to have to do for the monetization. So to get the characters you want, the outfits, the different types of unlock levels, etc., that can actually happen with a lot of different things. Now, in some cases, they have more aggressive microtransactions and with a lot of pop-ups, things like that, of a different way to do it, or another thing, or another promotion, etc. But they do not need you to pay to win. It makes it easier to progress and sometimes get to the certain rewards you want for different events and such. But they themselves are not a pay to win. However, these microtransactions in many cases do end up benefiting developers because they can end up doing more things with their concepts, IPs, etc., allowing them to create more content and put it out. And the same things with the fandoms themselves can be immense, but the real problem is that the games themselves can also become lost media soon after the release, which can be within a year to a few years, which is a big concern because then the game itself is unplayable, people cannot have the experiences or things like that. So let's go through some of the interesting things that you may have seen, and it includes some of the guests that are actually at A-Kon as well. So in the beginning, the game started with simpler gameplay, but they can keep working, such as Fire Emblem Heroes, Final Fantasy Brave Avicius, and its companion, War of the Visions. Now, some of the game concepts, they're basically kind of stuff you could do different things around the grid. You have different management, different things to build. Things are obviously added on with each thing. So they can have certain things like they have some beautifully gorgeous illustrated art as well as rendered art, depends on what it is, as well as it can go back a lot of their roots in the type of IPs or chain of IPs, and you have this with, I said, Final Fantasy, Fire Emblem, etc. Now these continuously keep going with new story events, new collaborations, etc., and they keep having more things go through. Fire Emblem is voiced, and some of the guests here are actually voices in Fire Emblem Heroes as well. And now Brave Avicius itself is not voiced, however, its companion, the War of the Visions, actually is. So with more characters and more different things coming out, this creates a whole opportunity for different voice actors to bring things in the game, also allowing themselves to become part of the entire canon, which can lead to other potential things. Now, if you want an example of just how many there are 547 separate English voice actors with hundreds of characters to summon just in Fire Emblem Heroes alone. So you can see with the different things, this is pulled from behind the voice actors. You can see the different people, some of which are guests here. It's a very large and expanding cast. Now, new characters means new voices, or sometimes it's the same voice actor doing a couple different voices because that's kind of common to actually do. But it's mostly new voices, and it's not just the voices for one thing, that they can come back for different things, different events, different costumes, etc. In the case of Fire Emblem, they are completely separate units. In other cases, it could be an additional costume with additional lines, things like that. but it does mean the possibility of more potential work. And also, when you are a character in a game, there are different aspects of being someone who can go to conventions, sign prints, do streamly stores, etc. But it's all sorts of different things of the creation of new work and opportunities. And because, like I said, it's live service, there's always more different kinds of concepts to bring in. And the whole thing is, since a lot of the games are, the main concept is a gacha mechanic, which is the random type, which can be exchanged for real currency of the localized market. So it's usually for like the App Store, it could be like, in dollars and things like that. Everyone who's done this, you see like different things of like get these summon packs, get these orb packs, etc. And there's plenty of different things to do to get the different things, the units you want, expand them up, etc. Now, this leads into various different subgenres actually inside the entire mobile gaming space. And this is also related with voiceover as well. Now, original IP such as Nikke, which actually has a lot of stuff into it, offers more roles as well. It's a mobile first game. It's always designed to be played on phones first and things like that. It has high quality animation, high quality designs. Now, a lot of the character designs inside the game work in a type of puppet warp, which allows for a repeating kind of motion to actually see. If you'd like another example for stuff you can actually download as well, you can download things like Wallpaper Engine to see stuff like this, as well as actually playing the games themselves. You see a different kind of a limited motion actually going a lot of different across. And all the major story aspects are actually fully voiced by a variety of actors, some more well known than others, some more also guests here, as well as different things you could see. Now, what's actually really interesting with the continuation of the adding of the characters is that there are always new ones to get, as well as the different costumes and outfits. And a lot of these actually focus into a lot of the different kinds of anime tropes, as well as the different kind of dere types. So you can always see from here, and I even have an example of the trailer, which we would actually play if I was there. But you can see here that there's obviously, bunny outfits. That's a variant costume as well. There's maids. There's different types of work outfit, and also types of things for, school and things like that, which can actually be a little bit funny because Nikke is actually kind of a dark kind of sci-fi story, and yet they have certain things that appeal to, the various different types of anime and manga fandom and the stuff that you actually see. And of course, each character is fully voiced with the different kind of systems and the deres, which actually you can see in a variety of different things here. There's a lot of different kinds of deres: tsundere, yandere, kudere, dandere, dere, and all these types, all the things in the tropes that we generally know from reading manga, watching anime, and all the stuff through the years. And it's actually applied to the different characters as you would do the things across different stuff. So it makes it very interesting as you see the different kinds of character development of the different characters as they're put in, which can sometimes be slightly at odds with certain aspects of the main story. That something that also goes into the different stuff that you could see with collaborations and things of that nature. Because it's like, okay, well, how would something like Chainsaw Man actually work in a dark, gritty sci-fi world? And Chainsaw Man is his own interesting level of weird and wonderful, but it's also quite gothic and gory in its own right. So seeing the collaboration events makes it very interesting. Now, this also expands into the other side of things where it's like, again, more original IP offers more actors as well. Whereas Nikke, for the most part, focuses on female identifying characters with lots of summon, there's actually plenty of this as well for such things in other games, such as A Tale of Food, and which in addition also has many newer voice actors on it, as well as some that I've engineered for personally in Sunny's class. So there's a lot of different things to see, different kind of characters that can be released that appeal to another different kind of audience. It's people who'd be interested in the different concepts of this game, interesting to bring in. And now this also gives actors a credit in and of themselves, which is very interesting because just this game itself has over 100,000 downloads just on Google Play itself. So these are actually widely available, which makes a very big difference with certain stuff, because as a note in games, it may not have as much as a wide release or just the amount of downloads, but simply noting by the amount of downloads, people playing, it's a very large, wide release of the people playing it. So let's go into what's obviously some of the biggest aspects in the mobile first, as well as entire expansive open world gameplay. I'm sure everyone here has heard of Hoyoverse and Genshin, and probably seen at least 3 Genshin cosplays already, if not 30. So, now Genshin Impact has actually brought the mechanics of free to play to consoles as well as PC, and it has an expanding world. Because it was one of the first, if not the first, but certainly cemented the entire concept of the free to play aspect on all different consoles as well as the mobile experiences. Now, what's very great is that it also has a lot of cross play and cross progression, unless you somehow manage to slightly lock yourself out on PS4 when you originally signed up with PS4. So, which I did. So now that's actually pretty interesting, because with such an involved game and the amount of time you especially have to put in with something like this, with the different ways of its grind and everything like that, is that it's important for cross-play and cross-progression. Because what actually is interesting, and I'll bring this up again soon, is the amount of events, things to do, etc. Now, Genshin always has an expanding voiceover cast, not in just some of the main characters up here, but which are also featured in one of the events, but also in the sheer number of NPCs that are obviously expanded with each different event, each different story, each different aspect. So there's more and more and more. Even if you're the voice of an enemy, it's still a voiced character that you may encounter a lot of times. And then sometimes if you're quick, you may not actually hear all the voice lines if you can take them as quick as I can. So here's an actually really funny thing. It has many limited time events, which keeps the people engaged. So it's more ways to log in, more ways to do stuff, and things like that, which has also led Hoyoverse to further expand into more original IPs, which is also like Honkai Star Rail. Now, what's actually interesting in terms of the different kinds of work and events is this also presents more of an example of the actually global cast they have for Honkai Star Rail and increasing kind of things. Everyone's favorite healer, Bailu, is actually voiced by Suling Chan, based in Malaysia. For the most part, you would think that the majority of actors who are English speaking would be located within the United States, but actually there's more and more global cast actually coming in from not just where you would think of, the US, the UK, Canada, but from all over. If it's somebody who's the right fit for something, that it fits and is right, they bring it in. And it's getting more and more expansive. Now, more will be coming from Hoyoverse and other publishers as they work to create and localize new games, new concepts, new IPs. And this also gives fans themselves new fandoms, new cosplays, and there's also more revenue for the devs. And by extension, because of the characters and what they do, the fandom, etc., the possibility for more voice actors to have more revenue from the different kinds of supplementary things, such as the print sales, Twitch streams, etc., and more people bringing in. However, there is one slight problem with certain things having to pertain with any type of mobile first game that is primarily dependent on servers. That is, what happens when the servers go offline? Now, here's a very high profile example of Dragalia Lost. Lost media can happen. It's because that people aren't able to play it or experience it in a variety of media or form. And what makes it especially interesting for mobile first or anything perpetual that needs to perpetually check or do stuff with servers is that you cannot duplicate the experiences, or in some cases hear or see things again with anything. And there I give some examples here with Dragalia Lost, and then Dragalia Lost itself shut down after a little bit of time. And it's the whole thing is you just may not be able to experience it. Now I'll give a further example of even more things that happen when the servers go offline with something even more recent. Now, here's the thing is I take a look at it from the left. This was a number of mobile games, mobile first, that were available from Crunchyroll Games. And that article linked in showing some of the stuff. And this was within the last year or so. On the right is a screenshot from this morning of what's available on Crunchyroll Games. Now you can see that certain things, even though they are actually tied in with rather popular fandoms, like I'm sure lots of people here are fans of Overlord, Attack on Titan, everyone loves our favorite goddess, etc., is that once these games are gone, they can't be experienced again. Now there's always different things with licensing and tie-ins and stuff like that, but all this can be lost media. what can make this even more interesting is if some of the games themselves are actually dependent on stuff within lore and add to it. Now, in those cases, certain things can be retconned or adjusted or even referenced, but if you're not able to play the concept itself, or even sometimes even experience a story, you may be at a complete loss, or sometimes when they're referring to different things that have happened. It would be, to give a manga example, what if you want to know some of the story inside Fairy Tale 100 Years Quest, and you couldn't access any of Fairy Tale prior period? You wouldn't be able to have some of the concept of referencing of how the entire world of Fairy Tale was set up. So now that's what the servers go offline, but pretty much that's the quick way I've had things go. So that's some of the potential, the benefits, and the possible lost media that will actually occur. Now things will obviously keep evolving with different stuff. I have a little typo in there. And that is how we have to look at the different things, the potentials, fandom, and everything else. So this has actually been pretty exciting and nice to present on. So I'm